Hello, welcome back to hell. It is February 1st, and we're here with another episode of the news. This is Government and Social.
It is Government Social and another goodie box.
The goodie box is so exciting.
I was looking at the sodas before we started.
Is that a bit driver?
Yes, there's a random screwdriver in here. So thank you.
Can't have enough of those.
No, that's true.
They do get lost.
You never argue if somebody gives you a screwdriver.
As a third-generation family company, we're proud to make our high-quality products in Vancouver, British Columbia, and provide them to Canadians at a fair price.
Throw it away.
We're not Canadians.
There's some Canadian pride because this comes from Canada.
Does that rotate in the wrong direction?
When you try to use it, syrup just comes out of it.
Oh, je suis fa. It's French.
Yeah.
It's French Smarties.
Oh, right. Yeah. That's so they can sell them in Quebec, right?
I think Smarties have a much different taste than M&M's, and sometimes I prefer it. Sometimes I'm in the mood for it. It's like sharper sweetness.
Are they going to be less sugary, you think? I'll try one.
No, I think they're more sugary. Or they taste more sugary.
Well, I mean, it's Nestle stuff.
Maybe less chocolate.
I like that it comes in a paper bag because
That's probably a Canadian thing.
You can compost that.
it's more chocolatey. Definitely more sugar than an M&M.
Now, these green cans are hilarious. Have you looked at those yet?
Yes.
Oh, they are sugary.
So we have Sapsucker, the lime one, organic sparkling tree water. So this is water that comes from trees.
Tree water. It's maple.
Is that like pre-boiled? Or not pre-boiled, but before it's boiled?
Oh, wait.
Oh, there was a
When they
note in
make
the
syrup.
bottom.
Krista, I thought you said it was maple water.
That's what it said on the ingredient list.
Greetings from the monarchy of Canada, and no, we are not just a subtle jab at the authoritarian streak of our current prime minister. Constitutional monarchy, British Smarties, candy. There's a lot of words here.
Read the whole thing slowly.
Phillips Soda Works, orange soda.
Oh, this is the payload right here.
Do we need to escort it somewhere?
Cheers, Greg.
You skipped a lot there.
Yeah, it's a pretty long note, but thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
But so this is tree water. This is sugar water, right?
I mean, it's maple
Sparkling.
syrup water.
Is it
Yeah.
sugar? Oh, 35 calories. That's not a huge amount.
What is organic maple water?
So I wonder if this is what it is. It might not be, but like when you make maple syrup, you tap a tree and you have to boil it to get it to that thick consistency. Maybe it's before it's boiled.
Does anybody want to drink that though? 8 grams of carbs.
I want to try that before the Daredevil orange cream.
It's
really
not
do.
very cold.
It's not. No, that's pretty cold. It's colder than these. I really want to put these in the fridge, maybe.
We'll save those for next week.
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
have those. Yeah, try this one though.
It might not have sugar in it because I'm reading the ingredients and it's maple water and
it's
natural
pretty sweet.
flavors.
I think
Citric
maple
acid.
sweet.
It's going to have a little bit of a citrus taste.
You know what it smells like? Pencil shavings.
Socialism.
That's delightful.
Really?
Really?
Yeah,
How sweet is it?
not at all.
It's
So,
like this. It's like the seltzer water,
What's
right?
the flavor?
Pencil shavings.
That's delightful.
It is.
Is it like tea? I guess tea's kind of like pencil shavings, right? It's just dead plants.
I've never associated those two. No.
There's not. You sharpen a pencil and it's that smell.
You know what? I bet wherever they're bottling this, they've just got a big room full of beavers and they just throw pencils in there, and then they sweep it up, and put it in the vat.
It's a very clean. It smells like sparkling water with just a little splash of lime, but it does just have a hint of pencil shavings.
Maybe the room with the beavers, they have the maple water flowing through it, and the beavers like can't have this.
The taste is so mild that it's hard to taste. You really do just smell it.
Oh yeah, the beavers also probably dam up.
Yeah.
And then that's the filtration method. It says no sugar added, sustainably harvested from Canadian maple trees. I think you're right, Krista. I think there must be some sort of byproduct from the syrup making process that they normally just throw away or pay somebody to haul off.
You just boil it. Like that's how you make maple syrup. So you tap a tree, and when it comes out, it's just really runny. You boil it to thicken it. So maybe they're just doing the straight tap.
They've got a still, and they're catching the distillate, and they're selling the rest of it to us. Genius.
It is nice.
I wonder if you probably can't get that around here, right? Like
This is an A. This is a good thirst quencher.
wow.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, we can't really compare it to the other orange sodas because it's not an orange soda.
No. no. We'll try the orange cream soda, maybe on the stream tonight or something.
Before I came here, I literally was like, man, we haven't had a soda tasting in a while, so this is perfect timing. I think, is this the first one of the year?
Also, we might never get another shipment from Canada. Great timing. Excellent timing. I think they're having a bit of a trucking issue, but we probably shouldn't talk about that.
Bit of an issue.
Instead...
and Linode.
Right.
We're still judging Devember. Sorry. There's a lot of really good things. So what we might do is a video on finalists before we pick the final winner, because we got a lot of prizes too. So it's kind of like, who gets the Linode prizes, who gets the technical prizes. We'll do that. But Linode has been real happy with the level of engagement.
Thank you, guys.
So they're going to sponsor every episode of Level 1 News, and we get to carry our $100 off coupon through 2022. So for the entire year of 2022, if you've never tried Linode, you can try it and get $100 of service on us. Terms and conditions apply. Link below. Thank you, Linode.
It's amazing that so many people are... I think we can, like when you get in bed with somebody who's selling something and you're advertising for them, you always have to be a little bit worried about it.
Right.
Yeah. But it certainly seems like the audience is using this service. So
I understand that they got a good chuckle out of the Nancy Pelosi bot that monitors trades and sends it to the discourse and all kinds of other stuff.
That was one of the Devember projects.
Fully open source. You can roll your own.
There are 2 pieces of law that are sitting there waiting, and it has to be either her or Schumer that does it, and they will not to stop the insider trading.
Yeah.
Though, of course, there was a news article that was like, oh, maybe I'll reconsider, but...
No.
Yeah.
She's got $350 million. How much? There's no way she can spend that.
There was an article we were considering for the news. It'll probably show up in the next week or two when it's a little more finalized. That's on that, but also an expose on how impossible it's going to be to regulate big tech when so much of our lawmaking stuff, their financial future depends on big tech continuing to be profitable.
But not if we stop them from trading it.
Exactly.
Somebody do the math. She's 81, or she will be. I think she'll be 82 if she runs again. Let's say she lives to 100, which she ain't going to, How much does she have to spend a day to go through $350 million?
You could ask that about any of our Congress critters.
Yeah. Well, she's one of the oldest.
Yeah.
And richest.
She can't spend that kind of money. Epstein's not around anymore.
Oh, too hot for YouTube.
Yeah,
demonetized.
Well,
speaking of hot for YouTube.
Yeah, this is hot, but this is not too hot for YouTube because this is exactly on point with the messaging that the mainstream is giving us right now, which is war appears to be inevitable. And we should be happy about it because defending Ukraine's borders is the most important thing in the universe.
It's their God-given American right.
God forbid somebody crossed the border illegally. And we see a lot of this.
The U.S. threatens the use of novel export controls to damage Russia's strategic industries if Moscow invades Ukraine. This is an awfully wordy headline to say the thing we did to Huawei, we're going to do to our own companies that want to export anything to, Europe or, Russia.
Right. It doesn't make it obvious what the tech lead in there, but they specifically talked about Huawei. Clearly, Huawei is the basis on which they want this new plan to operate because what happened to Huawei?
The poster child of getting screwed over.
Yeah. They held on for quite some time, but they had a lot of money.
Yeah.
And they've just been bleeding it. So it's been all bad for Huawei.
Part of the problem here is that other EU member states could buy on behalf and then forward on to Russia, and that appears to be the loopholes they're trying to close. And the European Union is working with them on it.
Germany's going to make so much money doing that.
Yeah, Germany's kind of like this weird middleman that's like, I don't know.
They're not letting anybody fly over their airspace to do anything involved with it.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's one prong of the attack. And of course, the other prong is one that we can scaremonger people. We can say, oh, listen, I know this doesn't affect you. I know it's on the other side of the world, and you'd rather our people not get involved with something that doesn't include us or help us at all. But wait, did you think about this?
DHS warns of Russian cyber attack on U.S. if it responds to Ukraine invasion, according to ABC News.
I mean, Russia's probably already doing it, right?
Yeah, this is literally saying that when this happens, you can expect some blitzkrieg of distraction on our part. So, whether or not something is going to happen, and when that happens, there will probably be disruptions that are meant as a distraction for us so we don't talk about the other thing.
It also could be just sort of softening the blow because they know that this is inevitable. Why? Because they're not ready for it at all. We have seen time and time again, just with garden variety Russian hacking. Imagine when the imagine when the entire Russian military is focused on the White House.
White House attempts to strengthen federal cybersecurity after major hacks. So I read the story, and there is nothing substantive that is actually being done to strengthen federal cybersecurity.
There's no plan.
Yeah. You remember when we got rid of leaded gasoline in 1975? Do you want to take a guess as to when leaded gas actually became unbuyable? It was 1996.
So they talk a lot about the zero trust and these new buzzwords about security. And when you look at the people who work in the government, try to extrapolate how good they will be at zero trust security. How is Nancy Pelosi and Bernie Sanders, how is Mitch McConnell going to deal with zero trust security?
I want you to look up the Level 1 news episode that we did after Zuckerberg testified before Congress, and Sundar Pichai and those guys. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. I'm sorry. And we had senators with iPhones asking the head of Google why their iPhone did certain things. It's like,
why can't I see my grandkids' pictures on Facebook?
Yeah, those people in a zero trust environment with security tokens, man, we are so screwed. We are so screwed.
It's amazing any of them even have phones. Like, surely they just have aides who do 90% of that.
Apparently they have aides who prepare their questions, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what if one of those aides gets, turned?
Yeah.
Or what if they're letting their grandkids do it? I mean, we've seen politicians' children are monsters. I think they'd sell the country out for the right price, right? We may have already seen that. And the chip shortage continues to rage on. It seems like a lot of people said, hey, look, you just got to get through 2021. I'm sure things are going to turn around in 2022. And now we have another announcement from the White House.
Will the chip shortage end soon? Biden's team has some bad news. So the dudes from Intel said, we think this is probably going to go on into 2023. And so Biden's team is saying, we think this is going to go on until 2023.
And really, that means at least 2024.
Probably.
Well, yeah. I mean, if it happens in January 2024, I think they'd still call that. Oh, we got it right.
Yeah.
It's exactly what we said was going to happen. Of course. And we have a trio of FCC stories this week. This one we've actually talked about before. Unfortunately, or I guess fortunately, none of us has ever lived in a big enough city to worry about this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Even when we lived in apartments.
No, this was a thing at a local apartment here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
you had to use their ISP.
Were you there?
No, I purposely didn't move into that apartment because they had that clause where it's like you have to use the internet for this building. And I was like, no, I don't want that.
Interesting. And they can get away with that here.
Yeah, they only had 30 units per building.
I bet they were getting a huge kickback from that, right?
Yes.
Well, that kind of thing is not going to be allowed anymore if the FCC has its way.
The FCC proposal would curb ISP lock-ins at apartment complexes. So if you want to see the best example of this, New York City. There are adjacent buildings that have completely different ISPs, and it's because of these backroom deals with landlords. And when there's no competition, the service is god-awful.
Yeah, and there's nothing you can do except leave the building, but often in those places, that's not an easy feat, especially now.
Especially in New York.
Although New York, I think, has a lot of openings right now. A lot of vacancies.
Still really expensive. I mean, all housing is expensive. You don't want to have to move just because of the internet.
Yeah, what portion of the population has enough disposable income to restart in New York in a high-rise? It would be a very low number, I would think. So, good news maybe. I got to think the ISPs are already working furiously to try and find a way around this. And they probably will in the short term.
Yeah.
This will have to happen a couple more times. Another thing that the ISPs do that people really don't like is they lie in their advertising. And there's really no other way to put it, right? It's a lie. Legally, maybe it's a gray area, but the FCC says no more.
FCC approves internet quote-unquote nutrition label proposal. And you should check out the nutrition label because it's not just how much bandwidth you get, but also is there a byte counter? What happens when you exceed that? What's the cost for exceeding that? What kind of latency can we expect? What kind of packet loss can we expect? These are big things.
And the network management, application-specific network management practices, they're talking about packet inspection and all that kind of stuff. So they're actually going to tell you about that up front.
Yeah.
I think they're going to lie about that and just pay the fine.
Right. I think so too.
Yeah. I don't know what the fine is.
There's not
Probably not enough.
I noticed that even this label doesn't go far enough as far as like DNS goes, because the next logical step from ISPs is to block or interfere with third-party DNS servers so that they can better inspect DNS traffic and get better analytical data on you.
And not many people advertise DNS servers.
No, I'm saying that ISPs will block third-party ones because they want the data.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully they'll have to put that on their nutrition label. And we talked about Huawei earlier and Russia going the way of Huawei. But first, another Chinese company will go the way of Huawei.
The FCC has completely ejected China Unicom from U.S. markets on espionage fears. Unicom must discontinue services in the U.S. within 60 days. This article fails to point out where they're operating exactly, other than that they're just operating in the U.S. and provide some telecommunications equipment.
Yeah.
If you're really that worried about espionage, would you really give them 60 days?
Well, the damage is probably already done.
Yeah, it's probably baked into the... Well, you have to be careful about your American businesses that are going to get burned really hard by this. And they're still going to get burned.
I tried to find out more about, were they equipment providers? Like, we have a rural provider here that's very tiny. It's like, is that a company that would provide them with equipment and support? Because leaving the country is not going to erase any back doors in any equipment they provided. That's what I was sort of wondering about. And there's not enough info here to really tell.
Well, I'm sure we'll hear more about it as they do that. 60 days, we'll probably hear about it again. And something that we're so tired of hearing about, and this really illustrates...
It's just a slap fight.
Yeah, well, not just a slap fight, but it seems like it can never end. And I know that the appellate is critical because they get it wrong a lot. But how much appellate do we need? This has been going on for so long, and it seems like somebody wins and they do a headline and you say, oh, it's over. No.
It's never over.
Epic versus Apple takes a twist as 35 U.S. states and the Department of Justice weigh in to back the Fortnite maker. So the Department of Justice has popped up and said, hey, Apple's not complying with the ruling. And it's like, well, Apple doesn't have to comply with the ruling pending appeal. That was the thing. This might be why. Remember when Apple first, the ruling happened and they're like, we're going to take steps so that everybody can do payments immediately. And then they kind of backpedaled. It might be the reason they backpedaled is because they wanted to sort of get everybody off guard. Because now the U.S. state attorneys general are involved in this as well.
I don't know. You think some of these attorneys general have young kids who are constantly screaming at them because they can't play Fortnite on their iPhone?
It's probably not that, but probably something along that line.
I like that reality better, though.
I think the bandwagon is definitely anti-big tech. Yeah. And Epic, although they are big tech, are not nearly as big as Apple. Yeah. So easy to pick a winner in that fight, or someone to back, I guess, not the winner. We have done several stories about various Chinese Americans who have gotten caught up in this whole Cold War with China thing. And sometimes they'll roll out some really good evidence and you're like, oh, maybe that guy was spying. And other times they'll snap them up and arrest them and you don't know why they did it. This was one such case.
Prosecutors dropped charges against Gang Chen, an MIT professor accused of hiding ties to China. We reported on this when it first happened. There's a lot to unpack here. It's a lot of really insane stuff. This version of the story is not super detailed, but the MIT folks came out breathing fire. Now, when we first reported this, the evidence they trotted out was like this professor took $1 million and didn't account for it. And so it's like he filed a false tax return, IRS tax return, and there was wire fraud.
It was grants. He was trying to get grants.
And so it turns out that money that he supposedly took went to MIT. MIT had the money. And so fortunately MIT
had a record of that.
Yeah, and also some lawyers. And so this is a really, really terrible, yet another really terrible example of the feds jumping the gun on this. So they have dismissed all of the charges. This is not a plea agreement. There's not any kind of anything. This is a very a very interesting mea culpa from the feds. But this guy was detained and harassed for like a year, which is bananas.
He gets restitution for all that, right?
No.
Oh,
no.
So that's
and this is not the first time this has happened. There was the guy in Tennessee. We reported on that, and that one we said, this looks suspect. We hope they have more evidence. And so when this one happened, it was like, wow, there's a lot more evidence. And it turns out it was just bad police work.
So he did misrepresent his grant proposals, but they interviewed the people in charge of that kind of thing, and they said, we've never heard of anybody being arrested for that. And in fact, looking at this grant proposal, I understand what he did wrong. I still would have granted it.
Yeah. Yeah, the Department of Energy, the people that awarded the money, literally said, this is fine. If you're an academic, I mean, it's like a witch hunt. It's like McCarthyism. It's crazy. And if there probably is an element of truth. Like, our intelligence service, they're probably onto something with this. But if you screw up this badly for innocent people, when you actually need to get the wolf out of the hen house, it's going to be that much harder.
And you might want to express your outrage at something like that. Maybe you're a Chinese American and you're tired of this kind of thing. And you think to yourself, I'm going to go to Twitter and get my voice heard. Okay, well, actually, you make fun of that, Krista. But
a lot of people do.
Yeah, that's kind of where it happens now, which is terrifying. And probably what's going to happen is Twitter is going to remove that tweet. Why is it going to do that? Because Twitter does whatever the governments tell it to do.
Government demands to remove Twitter content hit record high. Mostly not the U.S. government. A lot of South Korea, though. A lot of Japan.
We have
43,000 documents from 196,000 accounts. Japan, Russia, Turkey, India, and South Korea were the top 5.
What a horrible top 5 to be in.
Poor Russia. They are going to get maligned online for a long time.
Yeah, but it kind of sucks to be a Russian citizen right now.
Yeah. Well, we should know, Krista.
Yeah.
So you're saying it might suck to be part of a government that is constantly trying to steal other people's resources and land?
Listen, it's the Spider-Man meme, as usual.
I've lost track of myself. Oh, yeah.
This one's funny.
And we have another investigation by some attorneys general. It's just one, actually. The one from, was this Washington? We're paywalled hard here.
Washington State, yeah.
And because of his efforts in Washington, now this program was technically already shut down. I don't know if we should believe that.
Yeah.
Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But because of his efforts, it will actually be shut down nationwide. Do you think they do this overseas?
I don't know. I can't imagine they do it in the EU.
It's tough to get away with there.
Yeah. Sold by Amazon program shut down after Washington Attorney General's antitrust investigation. So the way that the Attorney General explains it, this is a program where, like say, I've got these amazing Canadian screwdrivers, and we're going to sell those on Amazon. And so as the seller, I'm going to upload those to Amazon. I'm going to set a price. Everything's good. But Amazon would come to me and say, well, Walmart also sells this, and also Target. If you let us set the price of that, we will make sure that a certain number of units are sold every month. But you don't really control how much the price is, but we'll share the revenues with you. So we get a cut, but we control the pricing. And so what was happening in reality, according to the Attorney General, is that Amazon was using its data for what the price of things were in the market. And so if somebody was willing to pay a couple dollars extra for this screwdriver, it would show them a price for a couple dollars extra, and they would take a cut of the sale price.
Well, the big thing, though, is they would fulfill the shipping.
Yeah.
You would drop ship your stuff to them. You didn't have to think about it anymore. So you would just get basically free money. If you found something that was in demand, they'd figure out how to sell it.
For more than you could.
And they'd give you the profit from it. What they figured out they were also doing is they were using that price data in order to pimp the Amazon basic stuff and try to get that ahead. And in whatever evidence they had, they determined that was working. And that Amazon was getting, not only were they making money from the program, but they were selling more of their garbage ahead of these items.
And also driving up the price in general of, say, a modular screwdriver.
I believe that is described as price fixing.
They got in trouble for that with the diapers, just a little bit of trouble because they did pretty much the same thing with diapers.
But that's the thing, isn't it? It's always just a little bit of trouble.
It was still net profitable.
And they'll keep doing it.
Oh, well, I don't think they'll keep doing it. I think probably they learned what they needed to learn with this exercise, right? And they'll just
They'll find another way to do it.
Right, yeah.
Without getting in trouble.
If we're going to do that, we need another layer of indirection.
Yeah, the next one will be worse. Wait and see. And if you'll think back, Amazon, the whole entire last year had the specter of unionization lurking over them. It was like the sword of Damocles. And they did everything that they possibly could, legally and probably a little over the line or a lot over the line, to stop that from happening. One of the things they did was anytime somebody started talking about unions in a big way, they said, oh, that person is violating the safety protocols because they're amassing into groups. You can't do that right now because the worldwide situation. That has finally worked its way through the courts.
Amazon activist firing deemed illegal by labor board officials. So the National Labor Board, which is kind of a court system, I mean, not really, but, the National Labor Board can decide something, and it does have a bit of weight behind it, at least here in the U.S. They decided this person that was dismissed from the warehouse for gathering, they were dismissed unlawfully.
If this person gets like the full ruling for them, they could force Amazon to put them right back in the same warehouse. What kind of firebrand preaching is there going to be in that break room? Because at that point, what can they do?
Yeah.
Nothing. Find another reason to fire them.
I think they'll probably have a robot kill that person.
Oh, some stuff fell off a shelf and killed them.
Oh,
Oops.
no. Oh, he was sealed into this tiny box and suffocated. How did that happen?
Strange.
Speaking of being suffocated in a tiny box, how did that happen?
If this man is lucky, he will spend the rest of his life in a tiny box. If he's unlucky, it'll probably be a firing squad because this might be happening soon.
Julian Assange wins the right to seek appeal against extradition to the U.S., but it's misleading because it sounds like there's a ray of hope. There is no ray of hope.
Yeah, you got to think it's very unlikely for this UK court to do anything but say yes to this.
He has the right to ask for it. He does not have the right to be heard. So if he is heard, it's going to be a mere formality, I would say, which is disappointing because he's been exactly right about his predictions from like 5 or 6 years ago about how things would transpire. And that's really horrifying.
He might get a slight reprieve because of the overwhelming unpopularity of this administration. Like, to murder him or incarcerate him for the rest of his life would be another hit to their popularity, right? But if they wait for the next one, I don't think there's any possible presidential candidate that's good news for Julian Assange, right?
Right.
He's doomed. Because they're all working together. When it comes down to the really important stuff, like keeping the secrets, they're all on the same team. And over across the pond, they have, they're still working with the whole online privacy and all that stuff and what the ISPs and the phone companies have to do to protect you and all that stuff. They're going to put it in writing.
European Parliament adopts a draft of Digital Services Act. So if you are a European citizen and you get a digital service, this act is setting some sort of ground rules for how that's going to work.
Digital Service Act suggests that targeted online advertising is illegal. That sounds good.
How will they ruin it?
But if you get rid of targeted online advertising, don't you destroy all the world's economies at once? Maybe now would be a good time to do it, right?
I don't know. They say that that's the case, but I'm skeptical that that would actually happen that way.
Well, it would certainly have an impact. I guess we could rotate into something else eventually. And once again, you think to yourself, wow, look at the Apple ruling. Like, we went through all that time and it seemed like it was over, but it's never over. But this is even crazier than that. There is no amount of time that can pass.
Over 10 years ago.
Yeah, how do you ever enjoy your winnings? Because it could always be clawed back.
EU court annuls Intel's 2009 billion euro antitrust fine. So they never paid. They've just been appealing and blah, blah, blah. Intel won here on a technicality. They said that the previous court never established that giving rebates to computer sellers for the number of computers sold with Intel processors was anti-competitive when their competition did not offer similar rebates to computer sellers when they were selling, say, AMD processors. So Intel was originally fined $1 billion for anti-competitive behavior. Never paid it. It's been in the court system more than 10 years, and it was overturned. But it can be appealed again. It could be back on the table. It's like, no, we can show that was anti-competitive.
You want more chips? You'll ignore this ruling.
Yeah, that might have been a non-trivial piece of that consideration. I love that every news story this week from a mainstream source, and most of them are that, like, it doesn't matter what the story is about. The video is just warmongering.
Yeah.
Like, it's just planes and rocket pods.
Images, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now it's a major winter snowstorm. But what's crazy, too, a reminder, we record this ahead of time. So if something happens between Friday and when this releases on Tuesday.
Yeah, Friday night would be the opportune night to start invading things.
Would it?
But I'm trying to enjoy my weekend. I don't want to go to war on a weekend.
I've heard that it's all about waiting for, like, the permafrost to set in because that heavy equipment needs to get across.
Oh, yeah, they don't want it to be muddy. But you don't want to wait till spring because spring will be muddier. I don't know.
I don't think they expect it to take long.
One of our supporters sent a link to a story about how, because you know how they're bringing in a bunch of equipment through the train system in Belarus. Ukrainian hackers had shut down the train scheduling system in Belarus, so they're having to schedule the trains manually, and they were having a hard time moving the tanks around. So here's to you, good sirs. Godspeed.
And El Salvador, the El Salvadoran president might be looking like he's got a little bit of an egg on his face right now because he did sort of buy at the top. And that can't be good, but he is saying that, you know what? I don't care. I'm still right. However, clearly the mainstream, the power brokers of the world are very unhappy with this because, of course, it threatens the status quo. You replace the money, you replace the power, and that cannot be.
Drop Bitcoin as legal tender, the IMF urges El Salvador. The IMF is the International Monetary Fund. It's basically when your country wants to borrow some money, you're going to be dealing with the IMF one way or the other. And
the things that they require in exchange for those loans are often very extreme and have to do with your, like, voting power in international places, and you give up certain rights and stuff like that. El Salvador has been attempting to get a loan from the IMF for quite some time. And they didn't come out and say it, but it seems like this might be a requirement of that loan. But to his credit,
El Salvador's president says the country is buying the dip.
Diamond hands here.
$15 million worth, which, on a country scale, not that impressive. Yeah. But if it goes back to 60, he'll make quite a little piece of change there.
15 will get you 30.
I don't know if we can guarantee that. And the Dutch are upset at Apple, and they're upset with Apple for the same reason that everybody else is upset with Apple, the walled garden.
Apple fined $5.6 million after Dutch dating app antitrust order. So the dating app asked for the ability to process payments on their website. And in the Dutch court system, that was granted, and Apple has not complied with that. Apple hasn't provided any mechanism for them to be able to do that.
But here's the thing, and this is, you're thinking, well, Apple's going to get their comeuppance here. No, they're not. They're just simply not going to do anything because they don't have to, because it's cheaper not to do anything.
It's up to a maximum of 50 million euros in relation to this particular order.
50 million is Tim Cook's, like that. He heats his pools for 50 million a year. So they don't care. They'll pay it. And they'll enjoy their dominance. Because that's what they do. And North Korea, so we don't know a lot about the North Korean internet, but we can sort of look at the traffic coming in and out, and all of a sudden it stopped.
North Korean internet downed by suspected cyber attacks, according to researchers. This Reuters article doesn't mention it, but that mysterious sub that has been cutting internet cables, it's been busy.
Oh, well, I don't know if they're blaming the sub, but the Tonga cable definitely was destroyed by the tsunami.
That's going to take like a week to fix. It might be fixed this week, maybe.
What kind of weird, bizarro world memes are coming out in North Korea that we don't even get to see? What if they have a totally different meme culture than us?
Do you think memes are even legal in North Korea?
They're just some sort of strange format we wouldn't even recognize.
They're probably all pro Kim Jong, right? Because that's the only thing that's safe. What else could you put out there that you
That
might-
feel when you love glorious leader.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if that's like the secret way that they communicate is like everything is glorious leader, but like the Shrek meme or some of the others, and there's a very subtle undertones to each one of those so that they can communicate with one another.
Each one has a different meaning.
Kim has posted the cat reading the paper. This is an emergency. You know what this means. And Indonesia, amazingly, we have 2 Indonesia stories this week. You don't hear much
Strange.
about them, but it seems that they are getting on the bandwagon. They're following Russia's lead here.
Indonesia bars financial institutions from offering crypto services, and they advise citizens that those are Ponzi schemes.
Some of them are. Actually, maybe the majority of them are.
Yeah, I mean, they're not completely wrong here.
But it's not freedom. People need the freedom to make these mistakes. But not in Indonesia. So if you hate cryptocurrency, maybe go there. Now here's a follow-up to a story we did a while back. If you remember, Amazon was getting a lot of heat. They were getting heat about their not allowing people to take breaks in the warehouses, the tattlers on the drivers, and everybody was peeing in bottles. Literally everybody except for Jeff Bezos and the Amazon Corporation had a Gatorade bottle somewhere, like in their desk drawer, in the glove compartment or whatever, and it was embarrassing. So they came up with a really stupid idea to counter it, and it didn't work, and now it's over.
Amazon ends the widely mocked scheme that turned workers into Twitter ambassadors. Amazon's paid tweeters praised the company and denied that workers urinate in bottles.
Those were everywhere for a while. Like, you could see those in the wild on Twitter a lot. It's not that bad. I've never had to do it.
But they didn't drown out the other voices.
Right.
The pee bottle voices were much louder because there was more of them.
So many more. It'll be funny when that comes up in union meetings. It's like, everybody in the local 36 has at least 2. What are you talking about? We don't have to do that. That's part of the handbook.
There's a bathroom on site?
It'd be funny if they, like one of the things they advertise, oh, look at the clean toilets in this place. Yeah, because they're never used.
That's actually the tornado shelter.
All the water in the toilets is evaporated. So it's like, they've never been flushed. Facebook tried to do the cryptocurrency thing, and if they had not been stopped, the world would probably be a different place right now, don't you think?
I think it'd still be a unique level of hell, just like normal.
Oh, it'd be hell. I think it'd be a worse hell. But the lawmakers, as I just mentioned, when you threaten the control they have of money, they react swiftly.
Facebook-backed Diem Association may be close to dissolving. There's some memos that went out and said, we're going to sell some assets to try to claw back some of our investor money so we can return that money to investors.
And they said something about like, we want to try to find a new home for the entire team, meaning the entire team is going to lose their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So they also said that these reports had factual errors, but did not mention what those errors were specifically.
They're not actually looking for a new home for those people. That's what the error was.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they would be happy to pawn them off in a sale.
Right.
But if they have to keep them, I fear that they'll either be doing they'll either be fired or they'll have to do the moderation team.
Ooh.
Oh.
Which is worse than death. And we've heard, I guess that was what, like 2017.
This is a few years ago, yeah.
Facebook started sniffing around first in India, and India snubbed them.
Yeah.
India was like, no, we know what this is. We can see the hook in this. Get that out of here. But Africa was kind of desperate for internet. They have so much, like open land. They need to cover it all. They accepted it, and now they are reaping the whirlwind.
Facebook's plan to offer free internet in developing countries ended up costing users, the Wall Street Journal reports. Now, there's something slightly misleading in this Wall Street Journal reports. It said that this has cost the users of this free internet service $1.9 million. but it was not actually $1.9 million. It was really just a couple of tens of thousands of dollars, somewhere in that neighborhood, but they adjusted it for relative purchasing power because those countries are relatively poor. What was going on with this Facebook app is that it's a text-only version of the internet. Facebook is your gateway, but you still may run up overages and charges from your local provider, even though that traffic was supposed to be free, because not everything was going through to the internet the way that it was supposed to.
No, it was Facebook's own content. Facebook, your version of this when you were on the free plan was supposed to simply remove images and videos. Facebook screwed that up. So even on Facebook, you would occasionally get served a video. And if you watched it, it would chew through all of your money because you had prepaid
plans on you.
And you didn't realize it, but you're sitting here watching this video and it's just chewing away at your prepaid.
Yeah, you weren't supposed to have videos or images at all.
I'll say, hell, with Facebook, a lot of their stuff autoplays. So, like, you don't even get the choice.
Right, and it was supposed to never appear. And these people might have just been scrolling through and there might be a video playing, which is, I mean, every news site does the video in the corner.
Yeah.
Does anybody want the video in the corner?
No, and it's annoying if you're trying to listen to music or something and it's like, well, crap, I will close this out.
So in these places, that would cost you a lot of money. Not a lot of money, but like you say, relatively a lot of money.
Relatively, it costs $1.9 million in equivalent U.S.
If
purchasing
you're checking
power.
out the internet with no images and video, it costs you a lot of money.
What? That's got to be such a weird way to experience the internet, right?
Yeah, I would think.
You know what we should do? We should hire one of those places. We could get somebody to test for ADA compliance. Because that's all they got to do, right?
Yeah.
Anything they can't do on the site, ADA compliance.
Definitely broken.
And they work for literal peanuts. The NFT thing, I'm feeling pretty good about the fact that I'm seeing a lot of backlash to NFTs. Are you guys seeing that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that feels good. I'm like, oh, well, maybe there's hope for the people, but at the very top of these companies, they have no ability to read the tea leaves. They don't understand what the people want. All they understand is we're going to make a lot of money from this.
YouTube CEO hints at potential NFT features. We're going to help creators capitalize on emerging technologies.
Oh, so thank you so much, Susan. You've done so much for us already.
We may be getting a NFT t-shirt in the store soon, making fun of NFTs.
It's not real NFT.
It's not an actual NFT.
I wonder if there's anything else Susan could do to help us get more from our content. Oh, that's right. Stop demonetizing it.
Right. Oh, that's not happening. This video's already been demonetized.
And, we get on our Twitch channel, we actually get most of our subscriptions and donations from a very small core audience.
Yeah.
They're rabid but loyal.
And, they're crazy. And sometimes I wonder, could Galinda be in some kind of scheme?
Shady, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, we never give him any of the money back. So it can't be this.
40 people arrested for alleged Twitch money laundering scheme. An illicit racket is said to have totaled $9.8 million.
We didn't make quite that much from Galinda.
That's funny because what was happening was they would go to somebody and they'd say, listen, you got 40 people watching this stream. We're going to give you a bunch of money. You're going to keep 30% of it. You're going to give the rest of it back. You're going to cash it out. And there was some quotes in here about like, some people we didn't realize. Some streamers admitted participating in the ruse, or at least they got wrapped in the whole mess. But what do they know about the alleged scam? Well, when it came to the point where you gave the money back.
Right. Well, when they literally propose it to you and they're like, can you give some of the money back? That should probably put off an alarm bell.
Yeah, I think you become complicit when they tell you, hey, you have to give this money back. You should be able to like, wait a minute.
What do you do with taxes on that too? Like that would be weird, wouldn't it? That's probably how they caught him.
That's right. Yeah, you would. Now, if you could keep it under a certain amount.
If you could expense the thing, then you could take that off your taxes. But how do you?
I mean, you have to report Twitch income.
They probably counted on the Twitch streamers not understanding that.
Yeah.
And by the time it comes around, they're not working with that person anymore. Because the account's going to get banned. Yeah, they had 40 viewers and they were getting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
Something's wrong.
Yeah. Well, Krista, you've admitted that you are a Wordle user.
Yeah, I've been playing a little bit of Wordle.
Way to just jump on the bandwagon there.
It's pretty fun.
Wow.
I'm bad at it, but it's fun.
Yeah, I've not checked it out yet. You know, I don't need that in my life. I don't need mobile gaming in my life.
It's I mean, you can play it on desktop too. It's just like a word game. That's all.
But it's big. People are loving it, and it's certainly making the headlines. And when people get that excited about something, what do they want to do? They want to express themselves. They want to tell the rest of the world about it. And some people are annoyed by that.
Twitter suspends Wordle-ruining bot. So the way Wordle works is there is a single word that you have to try to guess. And it's 5 characters. When you share it from the website, it'll just show how many attempts it took you to get the word, but it doesn't show you what the word was. But some people just post what the word was, and then it's ruined.
You know who's a big word search aficionado?
Woo!
You see him all just curled up in the corner, and he's got a pencil wrapped up in the end of his tail.
Yeah, he's doing it.
And
he's got the glasses, but they won't stay
Yeah,
on.
the glasses are down on his nose, and he's got the eraser of the pencil like in one side of his mouth, and it's like,
He's doing Wordle.
Here's the thing about it, though. He's terrible at it.
Yeah.
His vocabulary is so limited.
Here's an engagement challenge. What word do you start with when you play Wordle? I always start with reads because it has 2 vowels in it and other common letters. There's a strategy to Wordle.
I don't understand how the game works at all, so I can't.
Yeah, I'll send you the link later and you can look at it.
I don't need that link.
He's going to be playing it next week, chat. You watch and see.
Australia, they have, aside from completely embracing authoritarianism, they've become more and more friendly with the Chinese government because of their physical location. Obviously, there's going to be some crossover there. And they seem to, it's like, oh, you guys are authoritarians. You know what? Maybe we'll be that too. But China doesn't seem to want to be BFFs quite. I think they see the Australian people more as like eventual chattel, right? It's like, what's the name of that country? Oh yeah, after Taiwan.
Australia says WeChat has removed the account of its prime minister. This account has been put out of service and all content has been blocked after receiving relevant complaints. This account has violated management on online public accounts. So there's a couple people that think the prime minister's account was probably hacked and then swiftly shut down, but don't know.
They still don't have access to it. Now, why does the Australian Prime Minister use WeChat? Is because there's so many Chinese people in Australia, and they use that. So he uses that to communicate with them.
Hello, fellow kids. I, too, use the WeChat.
Well, I say he does it. But like we were talking about earlier, he probably never touches it. I'd say, what percentage of tweets does he actually make the final decision on? Less than 10?
Probably not even that.
And Giggle, have you guys heard of Giggle?
Nope.
Krista, it's just for girls. Are you excited about that?
I don't really care.
Yeah, well, if you want to go on a social media place that's just for girls and is very serious about that policy, you might want to check out Giggle. But if you are woke, you definitely want to stay away from Giggle.
You want me to read this since I'm the only woman in the group? Transgender woman slam female-only social networking app Giggle for using facial recognition software that excludes them. But CEO doubles down and insists that it's not a place for men claiming to be women.
Excuse me, Krista, did you just assume our genders?
I did.
And that's what Giggle is doing, and that is not allowed, at least in the public conscience, I suppose.
The whole premise seems a little bit flawed because facial recognition is easy to get around. I mean, you could just use someone else's face.
Here's the young lady who is in charge of the whole thing. She's standing by it. She says that keeping men out is far more important than inclusion. And verification screen. Now, when you do sign up, you agree to that terms of service. Legally, I don't know how much that's going to protect them.
Yeah. I don't know.
But some transgender people tried to sign up, and the AI said, I think I know what you are. But that's not okay.
What if you're just slightly masculine looking?
I wonder how they do that with really fat people. Right?
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, like sometimes you're just not, like you might have all the parts, but just not be especially feminine looking.
I suspect, they didn't go into these details, I suspect there's probably a manual review process, and you're still getting kicked back if you're transgender. I mean, I can't say that. I think some of them have to try harder, okay? You're really doing minimal effort here. I'm with it. Do whatever you want. But,
This is my favorite story of the week.
Yeah.
The next one.
Really fun.
This is great because it's like, oh, poor little richest man in the world.
Bless his heart.
Oh, is he sad? Oh, something bad might happen to him. I'm sure he doesn't have a security team.
A 19-year-old built a flight tracker on Twitter that was a Twitter bot. Elon Musk tried to pay him to stop. $5,000.
He really lowballed him.
Yeah,
He really did.
But this is NTSB data. This is public data. Like the fact that it's a bot on Twitter, it's not. It was already on the internet. It wasn't.
It wasn't in a Twitter bot, but it was on the internet.
Well, but it
popularized by this team, but
it wasn't even like on a website. It was an API, and this kid's dad is high up in the airline industry and the regulators, so he knows about that kind of stuff. And this kid, smart kid, understands technology, understands how those things works, gets into it, figures it out, says, "Ooh, people might like that." In fact, he got a job with something to do with the airlines because they were like, "Oh, you understand the API, huh? Come get a job."
Yeah.
Elon Jet on Twitter.
I looked at it. He's still posting.
Oh yeah, because it's completely automated. Yeah. Like anytime Musk schedules a flight, this thing will just pick it up.
Well, and the thing that people have pointed out too is like just because the flight is going somewhere doesn't necessarily mean Elon's on it. So is it really that big of even a security risk? Like, I mean, probably a little, but
I think Elon is looking at the headlines and he was like, "Oh, the Lolita Express records, those last forever. You can always go back and look at those. How can I change those laws?"
the flight went to Austin the other day. I saw.
So
in Hawaii.
Oh yeah, for like 6 hours in Hawaii.
But so Musk offers him $5,000, and the guy counters add a zero. He wants $50,000. What's $50,000 to Elon Musk?
Yeah, I don't.
What does one of those flights cost in fuel and staff?
Probably around 10 grand.
So yeah, stay home for a week.
Maybe more.
Stay home for a week, and your flights can be
He
secret.
can't be expected to do that. He's got kids all over the world.
I'm sure that's what he's using the plane for.
Yeah, probably to see all his 10 children.
And one of the greatest videos that you can watch this week is this Jesse Waters interview of one of the moderators.
I couldn't watch it because I knew it was going to be bad.
Everything that you want oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no,
We haven't read the sub. Yeah,
he's just awful. He's a terrible human being. There's nothing of value to this human, and how they let him go on TV to represent them is just.
I think that was by design.
I think so too.
Okay, well let's
read the headline. Oh, I guess I'll read it. Popular anti-work subreddit goes private after awkward Fox News interview.
Now, before we talk about this, let's talk about when they did this with Wall Street Bets. They had DFV on there, and they thought he was going to be this. And he was articulate and well-spoken and managed to even not say anything that would get him into trouble with the SEC, because there's certain things you can't say around trading. I like the style.
Speaking of certain things you can't say, I said I might be wrong about that. I cannot tell. I think the name was Doreen, so probably she, right?
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. So the way I understood it was that the mods had made an internal agreement that no one was going to be on the news because of something like this. And one of them was like, "No, I'll do it," which makes me think, did they find the weak link purposefully?
Probably.
Do you think there's a lot of strong links in that subreddit?
Probably not a lot, but probably in no subreddit. No one's a strong link in any subreddit, but
there's a part of, like, our anti-work existed before recently, and it was something different. And there are some people that were part of that. The part of it that might possibly have merit are the people that are actually willing to work, but the work that they're doing is systemically very undervalued. See also like Amazon warehouse working, because Amazon wouldn't be $1 trillion company.
Extremely, like, usually an abusive sort of relationship with their employer.
But then there are people like this who
but you shouldn't call that anti-work.
Yeah,
I think it's been changed. There's now a new subreddit after this one's gone private.
Yeah, the mod turned the subreddit off. It was so bad.
Well, the other mods got together. So they have all these like laissez-faire communist ideas and anti-work, obviously. And it's supposed to be, not have this problem. But the other mods got together and they're like, yeah, that one's out. Yeah. And everybody's like, well, wait, read the sidebar. That's not your thing. You're not supposed to be doing that. Like, no. They're done.
But it is just like news to pick the weakest link and then give them airtime.
Well, yeah, I mean, in terms of great content for Jesse Waters, because he's got a brand new show, right? So he was looking for a big headline, and boy, did he get it.
Yeah.
You ought to watch it, Krista.
I can't handle the secondhand cringe.
Oh, man, it is. Cringetopia. There's another great subreddit, Cringetopia. That's where somebody sent me a link to this on there. That's such a great subreddit. But, yeah. You know what? I've stopped including all the stories about the 4-day work week. That is a huge media blitz right now.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know who's behind that. Is that a Soros thing, you think? Or
I don't know. Well, it's something maybe if you can keep paying people the same, we get them to only work 4 days a week. That's still a net win for people like Soros. So
yeah, but the big argument now is don't extend the hours on the other 4 days. Just completely remove a day.
Yeah, and presumably the pay that goes with that.
No, they want you to keep that the same.
Well, that'd still be better than raising the minimum wage $10 or $15 from their point of view, which is scary.
Spicy. And you know what? We still have to do the Too Hot for YouTube show.
Yeah.
And it's just hard, like, because every week we might have like 2 stories.
That were like, oh, that's probably a little too hot. We should probably cut that.
But if we want to save all those up, then we got old news. I don't know what the best way to do that is. Maybe you guys have some ideas. How do we present? You know what? That might be the one thing that I'm willing to go to the forum. And
I made a joke about your forum thing in my A-roll for the Minecraft contest because you never go to the forum.
Oh, God. No, I do sometimes. And sometimes people will at me on the forum.
Yeah. And
I'll click on it, and then I'll read like 5 posts, and then I'm like, I'm done.
Float plane might be better.
But maybe I'll start a thread. No, don't somebody else do it. Maybe I'll start a thread, and we'll talk about the Too Hot for YouTube stories and try to collate.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Don't forget, we also have access levels on the forum, so like you can immediately exclude people that haven't been a part of the community for less than 6 months.
I'd rather do it on gender. Just kidding.
Women only.
Giggle. Trans women only. All right, Krista.
Bye.